Hello, I'm Erin Halvorsen with Rag Rugs by Erin, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be interviewing Connie and Jim Thompson. They've agreed to talk to me about their quilts. They do charity work. They do 3 different presentations on 3 different types of quilts, and they travel around and go places, and they take 100% of the proceeds and they donate it to the charity group that they happen to be working with at the time. And so when you write your check for their presentation, it goes directly to their charity group. And I'm just so inspired by someone giving of their time and themselves. These presentations involve a PowerPoint, and also they call it a trunk show, which they actually bring about 15 different quilts of whichever presentation they're talking about to it. So I'm going to let them tell a little bit more about themselves, how they go about doing it, and then we'll just briefly look at the 3 different presentations that they do. So Connie, thank you so much for letting me come. And Jim, we've already done an interview with Jim for a Rugby Jim, and he's been on my
blog.
Well, yeah, he's been on my blog because he wrote to me, and I was so inspired. And then I learned about what Connie and Jim do together, and so I'm thinking this is another great thing to inspire people. Connie and Jim, thank you so much for having us. So tell me a little bit how you got started with this.
Thank you. Well, what was it, about 30 years ago? 40? Almost 40. Oh my gosh. 40 years ago, we started collecting antique quilts. And we, for 20 years, have been talking about them to different groups, quilt groups, garden groups, with the different themes that we talk about.
And so then it kind of developed into more of a formal presentation, is that correct?
Correct.
And you started doing the PowerPoint, and that has been in the last 5-8 years or so. How long have you been doing a PowerPoint presentation?
Probably longer than that.
Oh,
maybe
okay.
20 years.
Oh,
at
so you've been
least.
doing it that long. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So for a long time. So they're pros at this. So then they, of course, they probably acquire more, and it's more excuses to buy more quilts. But people that love textiles and love quilts as much as they do, there's like, oh, I got to have that one. That'd be so wonderful. So this quilt in front of us, this is one of what series?
This is part of our Welsh quilt collection, and we're just really excited about these antique quilts that are on a wool batting, so soft, and they're all hand quilted.
That was something I picked it up and moved it over here, and I was so glad I did. These are the softest quilts. They look cushy, but really they're much cushier than they actually even look. I mean, they look cushy the way it's been done, but this is hand done, correct?
It is.
Which is amazing.
And then that wool batting, it's almost like trapunto, which is a stuffed technique, but they're so fun.
And you identify, one of the things you identify Welsh quilts is there's certain motifs. Is that what
there
I understand?
are.
Yeah.
There
So
are.
this is a motif here, and this means what?
It's a swirl,
Okay.
and it means, and you can see it there, and you can see it here, and it means everlasting. So on some of the wedding quilts, what they did is they combined that swirl with hearts for everlasting love, which I think is wonderful.
That is really, so I would think in the presentations you go into more details about that. And there's this one here, which I didn't even see until she pointed out. If you can see, this is a leaf.
It's called a bent leaf.
And what does that mean?
Well, when instead of a feather, it allows them, they do a double line to create a leaf, and they fill it in all different ways. So it allows the quilting to go up into tiny little corners.
Oh, okay.
And fit different shapes in your quilt.
And the reason why we only have one example sitting here is they have them around their house because they're so beautiful, and they've got them in different places. So we're just sharing this one right here. And they, of course, would go into a lot more detail, and they'd bring a lot more examples and share with your group. And over here we have the garden quilts, and
Correct.
that's one of the presentations that you focus on garden type of quilts. And I have to say this, and then I'd like to tell. Jim was pointing out when we were setting these up, this green one on the right is the maple leaf, or just a leaf? It's a maple leaf, and he says, well, we can cover that one up because it's not a looker. And I said, what are you talking about, Jim? I think that's gorgeous. So, you have different people are attracted to different things.
Absolutely.
And so these are all garden variety quilts. And the one on the left is a combination of what? It's two different things. It's hand.
It's hand stitching and a little machine stitching. It's pieced, and it's just it's a kind of a wild little quilt that Jim found on eBay, right, Jim?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's as if the woman threw the flowers up in the air and they
Yeah,
fell
that looks
like
that
pickup
way.
sticks.
It really does. And you know, we're only showing a little bit of it, but there's other different things in there too. So back to this quilt. What is the time period for these type of quilts?
This is probably late 1800s.
Late 1800s. Okay.
This one is unique. At the really older quilts, they were called whole cloth quilts.
Oh,
And
because
so
it's all one color.
There's not piecing involved. So when you don't have piecing, that means you're going to have to quilt the whole darn thing.
Right, to keep it all in
people
place.
back then really were there were some incredible quilters. Nowadays, you'll find most people who quilt prefer to do piecing and much less quilting. In fact, a lot of people who make quilts take them to long-arm quilters and have
Right.
them done by computer.
Right.
And so this kind of quilting is rare and rare, and it's just beautiful, and it's
It is, and even with the pictures, we really can, and on a video, you can see somewhat, but until you see it close up and can really see the detail, it's a little bit different. So back to the garden quilts, there's just a huge variety you can see, and there's lots more that they have to display. That if you happen to set that up to have this done for your group, a Quilters Guild or a garden club, as we said, or something like that they've done too. So they would bring some more of those choices as well. And then the third presentation they have is the Amish
Correct.
quilts.
the Amish
Yes.
quilts. And so we have examples behind Jim over here, but we also have behind us, could you tell us a little bit about this one back
Sure.
here, Connie?
My girlfriend Karen made that, Karen Prevere, and it is, Amish quilts became so popular in this country, and Karen, this was her Amish inspiration quilt, and she just did a beautiful job. We just adore it. And
You can tell by Connie's voice and Jim's voice the enjoyment they get from their quilts and
We
how they
do.
treasure them, and any kind of hobby that you're involved in. Jim and I do rag rugs, and people do quilts and all kinds of different things. And Connie and Jim, if you hadn't guessed already, they have lots of enthusiasm for lots of not only textile type of things, but they treasure lots of homemade type of things and other people's work. And which is a little bit telling of the soul, I think. It's a little telling of the soul to appreciate the simpler yet not simpler. This is a lot of hard work, but the things that we've moved away from as a society as a whole, and now I think people are now finding it more and more interesting.
Yeah.
So remember that the 100% of the proceeds go to a charity, and if you could tell us, Jim, how they could get in contact with you to learn a little bit more about these presentations.
Surely. What you need to do is go to www.sojourners.com. Here's the trick. Sojourners is spelled SEWJOURNERS.com. And it will have a single page on each of these programs. It also has a single page on quilts Connie has made.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And it's got
There you go.
And it's got a page on what else Rugby Jim's Rug. And it will also tell you the costs and how to get in touch with us.
Right, and so if you have
forth.
any questions, you can go there and contact them and get your questions answered. And I'm just so inspired and so grateful that Connie and Jim have invited us into their home. They're located out of Williamsburg area, and we've come up from Florida. So, of course, I have Rag Rugs by Erin, and you can subscribe and view over 100 videos as well. And I'm also on Facebook, ragrugsbyerin.com, and I have a website, www.ragrugsbyerin.com. And thank you again for joining us. And I love all the support I get and the comments I get below for all the videos. That really pushes me on and inspires me. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Jim and
Thank
Connie,
you.
for
Thank you
joining us.
for coming to
very
Williamsburg.
much.
Thank you.